This week on Instant Experts, Trump is back.
And he's an even bigger crook than ever.
Listeners respond to our budget edition.
And it wasn't completely wrong. It was incompletely wrong.
Hey, I stand by it, Honky.
Hey, at least you didn't incoherently blame the whole thing on immigrants like Angus Taylor.
Honky, excess demand for houses is clearly a factor.
No.
And in sport, it's Groundhog Day as the Tigers get flogged again and have their floggings scheduled for next year as well.
And poor old Henry turns to gambling.
It's wagering, Honky.
The first step, Henry, is admitting you have a problem.
I bet it's not. Welcome back to Instant Experts, even more rampant corruption than usual edition. It's all the latest news explained by idiots, here to keep you sane in a crazy world. I'm Henry Lee, and as always, I'm here with my dear friend, the Honk. Honky, welcome.
Henry, my dear fellow, a pleasure to be here as always, although please everyone excuse my slightly fluey-sounding voice and appearance.
Where are you watching from this week, Honky? It looks like you're back in the Cotswolds.
You clever fellow, you got it in one.
Well, last time you were there, which was a couple of episodes back, you said the village you were in was called Pedo on the Green.
Do you mind? I would never say a thing like that about the UK. So rude. If you must know, I'm actually in Britain's become a total fucking shithole by the pond.
It's a beautiful pond, no doubt, but why have you gone back there so soon?
Well, I was inspired, in fact, by one of our listeners, Dr. Grace.
Dr. Grace? Surely not Dr. W.G. Grace.
Who is W.G. Grace?
Honky, he's one of the most famous cricketers ever. English guy with a huge beard. You'd like him. He made 54,000 first-class runs and is the father of modern batting. The only problem is he died 111 years ago.
Oh, thank God. He never texted me back. I thought he was mad at me. But no, my friend, you've answered your own question. I was actually inspired by an email that we got at 5:49 a.m. last Saturday morning from a different Dr. Grace. Right after the last episode came out, it was entitled Early Start, and it went as follows. Good morning. Too early to text. Wow, you released the pod at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday. Did you pull an all-nighter?
Honky, you did pull an all-nighter.
And I finally felt seen. Somebody finally appreciates me. Anyway, this Dr. Grace went on. She said, I listened to last weekend's episode running around Burton on the Water in the Cotswolds.
Burton on the Water, so you just thought you'd head over.
Like I said, I was inspired. And for extra points, and you and I are both huge music fans, Dr. Grace threw in a music review as follows, quote, saw Paul Simon perform at the Royal Albert Hall on Wednesday night. Great show. Selfish first half, played the Seven Psalms album. After the intermission, he succumbed to the masses and played his hits. Encore, including 50 Ways, was unforgettable. And finally, a remarkable acoustic version of The Sounds of Silence.
Well, that's fantastic, Honky, but are you sure you didn't just email yourself? I mean, going to concerts like that is exactly what you do when you gallivant in London, and it reads like the old movie reviews you used to do on radio.
Henry, Dr. Grace is a real woman and a real listener with exceptional taste in podcasts and music. She concluded her note, we'll listen to this episode running around Paris.
Well, shouldn't you be in Paris?
Anyway, what a week. This is a show, as we always say, about crooks, fuckwits and morons. And Henry, they are spreading faster than the Ebola and Hantaviruses, currently threatening to infect the whole world, especially the United States, because certain crooks, fuckwits and morons previously in charge of the now-defunct DOGE program slashed the US aid budget, which, had it not been slashed, would have helped detect and prevent the spread of both those viruses by weeks.
I think they sacked everybody at the Centre for Disease Control as well. So is that what caught your eye this week? Deadly viruses.
Well, it was until just in the last 5 minutes or so I started bleeding out of both of them. but there's so much other stuff to talk about, Henry. The reaction to the Australian federal budget we covered last week, the reaction to our budget episode, the infighting over the budget, not only across Australia, but within the Labor Party that announced the new budget. Plus, fun stuff in sport and a truly outrageous bunch of cunts of the week, possibly our best/worst ever. But I would like to start with the patron of the show, the cunt of the decade, the crook, fuckwit and moron who always gets the presidential suite but never pays for it, Donald J. Trump.
He's had a couple of weeks off, hasn't he, Trumpy? At least on this show.
Well, he is back, baby. And let me tell you, he is making up for lost time. In fact, he is triple trouble this week with updates involving Trump in Iran, China and the US of A.
So where do you want to start, Honk?
Let's start with Trump in China, because that was happening right when we recorded last episode. We promised we'd come back to it.
So what was the purpose of the China visit? Was it basically for Trump to go and suck up after his tariffs blew up the relationship last year?
Henry, the purpose of the visit was to take a step toward greater stability and predictability in the world's most important bilateral relationship, something we should all be in favour of.
Sure.
But yes, he was also sucking ferociously hard. So let's take a step back and recap. On so-called Liberation Day, you remember in April last year, Trumpy announced massive tariffs on China and every other country in the world.
Yeah, including the penguins, honk.
Including the Heard Island penguins, who immediately suspended their surprisingly active, for an unpopulated island, trade with the United States in fighter jets, semiconductors, and pilchards. So Trumpy put massive tariffs on China, which people will remember peaked at about 145%.
And were later ruled illegal.
Requiring the US government to refund up to $166 billion to its own citizens. But even before that, China had put Trump's gonads in a vice. First, by increasing its own tariffs to 125%, then by immediately suspending all of China's purchases of agricultural products from the USA, like beef and soybeans, herding ranchers in Texas and farmers in the Midwest, both big MAGA regions, and then by withholding the export of rare earths, which you already knew, and I was pleased to learn, are essential for all sorts of things like cars, laptops, cell phones, MRI machines, weapon systems, and even oil refining, which it turns out China controls 90% of.
Whoops.
Whoopsie daisy. I made a poopy in my pants.
Now, Honky, we did cover this on one episode. I want to see if you were paying attention. I want you to name the rare earths.
The detail is not important, Henry. The point is China body slammed Trump and he had to back down.
Come on, talk dirty to me. But I want you to do it Fish Call Wonder style, like John Cleese talking to Jamie Lee Curtis in Italian or Russian.
Wasn't it first the other guy who was Kevin Kline first?
Oh, was it? Might have been. Anyway.
Yeah, and then John Cleese. You're right. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Fish Call Wonder style dirty talk. Here we go. These are the rare earths, okay? Lanthanum, cerium, praseodymium, neodymium, promethium, samarium, europium.
Ken's going to kill me.
Gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, holmium, erbium, thulium, lutetium, scandium, ytterbium, and yttrium.
It's like roll call in Rome, circa 50 AD. But thank you. I feel so much better now, Honky.
Never in my life was I more glad only to be able to see you remotely at a desk from the waist up. Anyway, key thing. Trumpy had to get rid of most of his tariffs on China late last year to regain access to those rare earths. So this trip out of China was basically for Trump to get China buying things from America again.
Is that why he brought all those CEOs with him?
Yeah, I think that's right. Like 17 senior executives, including Elon Musk, he of the Doge USAID fiasco, among many others, also just got his ass handed to him in a misbegotten lawsuit against OpenAI and its boss Sam Altman this week. Also, Tim Cook from Apple, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, plus the CEOs of Boeing, BlackRock, Blackstone, Citigroup, Goldman, and Visa, all coming to see Xi and kiss the ring.
The one on the finger, I assume.
Well, who can say? China's a very big customer. And Xi's quite broad in the beam, as they say.
He has a shunk in the trunk. was the trip successful, Honky?
The ring kissing, wherever it was. well, it's sort of hard to say. I mean, it looks like Beijing will buy a few planes from Boeing and maybe some more beef and soybeans. Presumably things will normalize over time because there's so much money involved. But as part of the deal, China also got access to NVIDIA's newest chips, which the US had previously been withholding for security reasons.
That was to keep China behind the US in the AI race, I think.
Exactly. So it was all a bit of a face-saving exercise, as we said, but only a bit, because right after Trump left China, then Putin arrived in China and he pointedly got at least 20 times the amount of BJs, including a joint communique with Xi and Putin, plainly sticking it up Trump.
I didn't see that. Nice one. By the way, did Trump, while he was there, throw in letting China have Taiwan, or does that come later?
Well, Trump is notoriously soft on dictators, as we know, mainly because he wants to be one. Perhaps, as we'll cover soon in this episode, he may already be. So I assume bending over on Taiwan was implied. Plus, he might be out of ammo after Iran, politically and literally.
Yes, indeed, Iran. We've had a couple of weeks off there too. What is the latest?
Well, it does look like the Iran war might be coming to an end. Now, I know we have said that about 50 times on this show, but this time the stock market certainly thinks so too, and the bond market needs to, as you told me.
Yes, bond yields have absolutely exploded, Honky, meaning markets are seeing a ton of risk around the place from Iran and from inflation, which of course is also Iran-related. US 10-year bonds, which are basically the rate that the US government can borrow at for 10-year loans, are up to 4.6%. Aussie 10-year bonds are at 5.1%. So Australian taxpayers are getting absolutely reamed as well.
Hey, we'll get to the budget later, okay? Patience, young fella. But yes, basically the US and Iran are negotiating over the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's nuclear program, and Trump has given his usual, the money or the box office, that is, sign or will blow you up. Put, of course, in the usual Trump way, where he says that he was, 1 hour, he said this week, from pushing the button before certain other unnamed countries asked Trump to hold off, he said, which he in turn, he said, agreed to do out of respect for those countries.
Yeah, a.k.a. Trump always chickens out.
AKA Trump always chickens out. But that's not the really weird thing about Trump and Iran this week. The really weird thing is the leak the press picked up about what the US and Israel's initial plan pre the war in Iran was, where they decided to go in and knock off the Ayatollah.
Right, because the then what bit of the Iran invasion plan never made any fucking sense to me.
Yeah, and now we know it makes no fucking sense, because the plan apparently was, get this, to knock off the Ayatollah and put in, are you ready, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad instead.
Isn't he the hardcore nut job who was the previous president of Iran?
Yep, Ahmadinejad, president of Iran 2005 to 2013, famous for his constant calls to wipe Israel off the map, right. Huge supporter of Iran's nuclear program, fierce critic of the United States, known for violently cracking down on internal dissent, so he's also wildly anti-democratic. In fact, he may have even rigged the Iranian elections that he apparently won.
Oh, well, that part makes more sense for Trump.
But for Israel? Because when he was president, don't forget, Ahmadinejad's famous first big act was to convene an international conference in Tehran to prove the Holocaust didn't happen.
What?
We covered it before on the show.
Hey, I'm not Dr. Grace, Honky. I don't listen to every episode. I forgot. But now you say that, I have some dim recollection.
And the finishing move, going back to why Trump ever wanted Ahmadinejad, is Ahmadinejad is also quite likely one of the original US embassy hostage takers in Iran in 1979.
Wow.
When they held American hostages for over a year. So somehow they thought that guy was going to play nice with the US, let alone Israel.
So what happened? The US and Israel thought better of the idea and boned it?
No, they went with the idea. It only fucked up because while the US and Israel were blowing the shit out of Iran early on, they blew up Ahmadinejad's house where he had been under house arrest by the Iranian regime. It was meant to be a bid to free the guy, and instead they nearly fucking killed him. And now the guy has not been seen since. You couldn't make this shit up.
And he'd be forgiven for getting the wrong impression too, wouldn't he, Honk? We'd like a pragmatic leader we can deal with, but just to be safe, we're also going to blow you up. Now, the good news, Honk, in all this uncertainty is that whatever happens, and this is the last bit of Trump news, Trump is making out like a bandit.
Bro, that's news.
Well, fair, but the corruption, Honk, is impressive even for him. And there were two parts to it this week. First, Trump, or at least his minions, filed something called a Form 278T. It's a disclosure form required by the US Office of Government Ethics, which I was pleased to learn still exists, at least for the moment. And it showed that Trump's family trust executed more than 3,600 share trading transactions between January and March this year. The cumulative value, and they only give a range on this form, was somewhere between $220 and $750 million worth of share trades. This is the president. And of course, many of the stocks that he bought and sold were of companies whose CEOs he was working closely with as president, including basically half the China touring team that you mentioned.
Unbelievable.
Just one example, Trump bought somewhere between $1 and $5 million worth of NVIDIA stock on February the 10th. A week later, NVIDIA announces a chip deal with Meta worth up to $100 billion, and now the China chip deal as well.
I just can't. And of course, it's just there were also the Liberation Day bets last year, weren't there?
That's right. Well, strictly speaking, they were the taco bets that happened a little bit after Liberation Day, right before Trump announced that 90-day pause to his tariffs. and the S&P went up 10%. And right after he tweeted, "This is a great time to buy."
Sorry, how is Trump's portfolio not in a blind trust like a normal fucking leader? At a minimum, Jimmy Carter famously sold all his shares when he became president to avoid all conflicts of interest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Honk, but as my sister Cicely has often observed, Trump's special power is committing the crimes in plain sight. It's the audacity that helps him get away with it. And Honk, that wasn't even the winner of the Trump corruption category this week. The winner is Trump settling a lawsuit with himself for $1.776 billion and permanent immunity from prosecution for tax fraud.
What? Are you what?
So every president since and including Richard Nixon has released his tax returns, except for Gerald Ford, who only released a summary, and Donald Trump, who refused in his first term and his second term.
And Gerald Ford was a bit of a summary of a president, wasn't he? He only did like the 2 years instead of 4 years post-Nixon.
That's right. And Ford's, of course, the only person to serve both as vice president and president without being elected as either. We can forgive him a little leeway. But the point is, presidents normally release their tax returns, except for Trump.
Because he's a fucking crook.
Exactly. By the way, Nixon's famous line, "I'm not a crook," was actually delivered after and because they released his tax returns.
Yeah, except he was a crook too.
He was. The point is, rather than him releasing his tax returns, Trump's tax returns are actually leaked by a contractor at the IRS, who is now he's now in jail, that contractor, for doing so. Those leaks were 7 years ago, but Trump decides magically this year to sue the IRS for failing to stop the leaks, even though the guy's in jail. Says he's suing for $10 billion, which, of course, is Trump's usual completely made-up number.
Of course.
But the catch is, on the other side of the case is the Justice Department, which is led for the moment by Trump's former personal lawyer, Todd Blanche. And the judge tells Todd Blanche this IRS lawsuit is complete bullshit because you, Todd Blanche, are on both sides of the case as Trump's former lawyer and the Attorney General. So come back in 3 weeks and tell me why I shouldn't throw the whole case out. Trump and the DOJ solved this problem by settling it. They settled the case with each other.
Let me get this straight. So Trump, the citizen, settles with Todd Blanche, the Attorney General, who reports to Trump as president and who was literally previously Trump's personal lawyer and possibly still is?
Exactly. And the settlement that they cook up together has two key elements. One is the establishment of a slush fund of $1.776 billion. That is 1776 million, as in 1776, the year the US declared independence, that the Department of Justice, the DOJ, under Todd Blanche, can dish out pretty much as it pleases to so-called victims of DOJ lawfare under Joe Biden.
I.e. money for mates and supporters of Trump.
Yeah,
from the government.
Exactly, or Trump himself or his kids. I mean, it's an absolute scandal. It's basically grand larceny.
Unbelievable.
But the other element was the DOJ, and this goes back to tax returns, waiving any right to sue any entity related to Trump or his sons for irregularities in their tax affairs, like, for example, not ever paying any, which, of course, is why Trump never released his returns.
So one of the other groups apparently lining up to be compensated under this Trump, mates and supporters scheme I saw are the guys who tried to overthrow the United States by storming the US Capitol building on January 6, 2021, where Trump, you remember, refused to accept that he lost to Biden.
Well, the weapons those guys used to assault and in one case kill US Capitol police officers are expensive, Honky.
What do you think, out of interest, the chances are of the guy who leaked these tax returns and went to jail for 7 years? What do you think the chances are of that guy getting a slice of this fund, do you reckon?
Yeah, it's about the same as the ex-FBI head James Comey or the ex-New York Attorney General Letitia James or ex-Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell or Biden's own son Hunter, all of whom Trump has used the DOJ to persecute. Absolutely fuck all chance.
The criminality, as you said, is just... It's just breathtaking, right?
It's unbelievable. And, of course, Trump will pardon himself and all his family and mates before he leaves office anyway. I mean, in a way, it's genius. You sue yourself, you settle with yourself, then you pardon yourself. It's quite brilliant, really. You just have to be an absolute cunt to do it.
Well, that mission in particular, long ago accomplished, right?
Indeed. All right, Honk, let's take a break from the Crooks, Fuckwits and Morons for 5 minutes. It's time for shout outs to listeners. And we have, as always, loyal listeners and viewers all over Australia. and all over the world. In the UK, Honky, our friends in Whitby that we covered a few weeks back are well and truly regulars now, home of Dracula and Captain Cook. But we also have Pewsey in Wiltshire, Exeter in Devon, and Tunbridge in Kent.
Now, Stonehenge is in Wiltshire, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Pewsey's about half an hour up the road, a bit further north, has 4,000 people and 4 pubs.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's enough pubs.
Well, luckily for you, Honk, there's a micro pub as well, apparently.
Oh, thank God. Somewhere you can really get away.
The people in the other 4 pubs. Exeter is on the Exe River in the southwest of England, just up from Exmouth, of course. And Tunbridge in the southeast is perhaps most famous for Tunbridge School, which is the alma mater of the writer Ian Forster, Passage to India and so on, plus a whole bunch of cricketers, which was no surprise because, Honk, when I looked at Google Maps, the school has no fewer than 9 cricket grounds.
Well, there wasn't exactly that much competition for land when the school was founded in 1552.
That's true. Honk, across the Atlantic, we have Ottawa, the capital of Canada, of course, and Vancouver as well.
You're going there shortly, aren't you?
Yes, to Canada. It's my Mark Carney Memorial Summer Tribute Tour. My son and I are going across the country, west to east, golfing across the Rockies and meeting Mrs. Lee and our daughter at Niagara Falls on the Canadian side.
Canadian side because of Trump?
Because of Trump, yeah. It's strictly above the 49th parallel this time for us. Although now that I say that, I think Niagara might be a bit further south than that, but you get the idea.
I've actually been to the Canadian bit of Niagara Falls many, many years ago. It is absolutely beautiful. But what about the US, Henry? Because we do still love our US listeners. I mean, I assume they probably hate Trump too, otherwise they would listen to this show, right?
Well, indeed, yeah. And we've got lots of listeners in the US, places like Columbus, Ohio, Glendale, Arizona's back again, plus all our regulars. But our feature location this week, Honk, is Stores, Connecticut, notable for 2 things. First, the home of the University of Connecticut, or UConn, famous for its basketball program.
Oh, yes, I know it well.
You do not, but I did. The Huskies men's team have won 6 national championships, and they're the B graders. The women have won 12.
Whoa.
At one point, the Huskies women won 111 games in a row.
Only 111. What's the other thing it's notable for, Stores?
The other thing was that in 2005, right after Hurricane Katrina, Stores was named by Slate magazine as, quote, America's best place to avoid death by natural disaster.
That means it either has a very stable climate or you're going to get murdered before the fire flood or hurricane can get you.
Something like that, I assume, yeah. And Honk, last but not least, for location of the week, we have, count them, not 1, but 2 listeners this week in Darwin.
Darwin! Now, that is a new record. That is twice our previous best in Darwin, which we only ever achieved once. So thank you, Darwin.
Yeah, but I reckon 2 of our listeners have gone up there together especially and listened on separate devices. But if you are true Darwinians, listeners, please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. And as per last week, Honk, you might have to do that nude lap at the cricket.
That was only if they get 2 spectators at the cricket as well.
Well, a countdown begins.
I'm hitting the Ding Dong Extension Clinic immediately.
Well, the good news is it's nice and warm up there, Honk. So.
Will not be enough. And now, Henry, some quick follow-ups on our analysis last week of the new Australian federal budget, for which I had to learn to count to 10.
Well, can you show both sides of politics how? That'd be great.
Let them be kids just for a little while longer. We got a very strong reaction to our episode, almost all positive, except that is for listener Nikki from Sydney, who is actually a tax professional. In fact, this week she wrote a nationally published newspaper editorial on the Australian federal budget. Now, she felt the need to correct you, Henry, on your numerous factual errors.
Honky, I thought that you and I had a respectful and substantive debate.
Yeah, that I thought you won, but that Nikki, who knows what the fuck she's talking about, thinks you lost. And not to me, but to the actual facts.
Yes, it's true. Listener Nikki did write in to say, hi, Henry, I've seen your commentary re budget tax changes and understand where you're coming from.
It is 1,000% certain the next word from Nikki is but.
She continues, but... Do you know our tax law already has substantial favourable tax concessions, largely unchanged by the budget announcements, which apply when a small business owner sells their business? No, I did not know that, Nikki. I am an instant expert, not an actual expert, okay? Do you understand me? Nikki was then kind enough to alert me to a thing called the CGT, that is capital gains tax, small business concessions regime, where, as she put it, if you sell at the point where you were successful, but not, quote, overly so, you get extremely concessional tax treatment on sale.
Rightio, I got you.
And Nikki goes on to say that, on the other hand, if you make it really big so that you've possibly made enough that you'll never need to work again, then maybe it's reasonable for you to pay 47% tax on your gain for the luxury of living in Australia. Well, just throwing the idea out there for consideration, unquote.
So how long has Nikki been a communist?
She's a tax advisor, honk, so not long, I wouldn't think. But I've got to say, I still think up to 47% capital gains tax will be a disaster for capital investment. I don't think it's fair to business entrepreneurs and owners or anyone wanting to start a business, and people just won't do it or will go elsewhere to do it. It also makes no sense to me that the profits of a business year to year are taxed at 30%. That's the company tax rate.
Yeah.
But the profit on the sale of future profits in the form of a sale of the whole business or sale of some shares is suddenly taxed as much as 47%. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, fair enough.
We've talked about this a lot during the week, as has everybody else in Australia, it seems. The three key points on the budget from our point of view are, number one, we've got no issue with the scrapping of negative gearing on new property ownership or even increasing the CGT on investment properties, as long as it has the intended effect of making houses more affordable.
Yeah, I think most people, including me, agree with that.
Two, but the increases to CGT in general and to family trusts make less sense, and I'm being kind. And in particularly, arbitrary minimum tax rate of 30% is punitive to those where that is not otherwise the right rate based on their actual earnings.
As you said last week, like young people, non-working spouses, parents and retirees. I agree again.
And the third thing, and biggest for me, is the starting point, Honky. The Australian government should be encouraging Australians build stability and wealth, not penalising them for trying to better themselves and look after themselves. And along the way, paying a lot of the taxes that this country depends on.
For the love of God, please stop making me agree with you, Henry. I can't take it anymore. To restore my own sanity and personal equilibrium, I must just note that you were personally criticised this week by another listener, Mark from Maroubra, who wrote, quote, Henry, shame on you and honk. I'm angry. I'm drafting letters to my local MP. Listening to Instant Experts was part of my plan to cultivate ignorance and apathy to geopolitics and crookery, and it was working until I listened to the latest Instant Experts episode. It was a failed episode, leading to unacceptable levels of civic responsibility. Do better or much worse.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thanks everybody for getting in touch. We do love it, and thanks as always for listening.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. And Mark, if it's any consolation, any sense I made on the budget last week was fed to me by Henry. I still have absolutely no fucking idea what's going on.
Now, Hawk, it must be time for sport, and there's a lot happening. There's a West Tigers update, a heartwarming story from the golf, and another cricket ticketing fiasco.
Oh, my God. Another one. Jesus.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
Well, we've done a lot of rugby league on the show, right, which favours our New South Wales and Queensland listeners and viewers. So I actually have an AFL question for you.
For our overseas audience, AFL is the Australian Football League, and Australian football is the native football code that was famously described as seagulls fighting over a chip.
Very accurate.
Now, what was your question, Honk?
Well, last year you were at great pains to tell us all listeners and me, how well you were doing in the AFL tipping competition at your local pub in Melbourne.
Yeah, the Morning Star, where you made friends with the locals by asking about the rules.
Made friends with the locals by teaching them the rules. But you haven't mentioned the Morning Star tipping competition this year, and it is now round 11. Are you even in this competition?
Yeah, of course I am.
You're losing, aren't you?
You got me. I am losing. Not too badly. I'm in about 7th place. Well out of the money spots. That's why I haven't been talking about it.
Henry, to paraphrase the great bad Queen, there is no time for losers. This show is for champions. Do better.
The good news, Honk, is I'm beating my nemesis from last year, the guy who beat me by 1 point.
No one cares. He doesn't even know you exist. Get over him, Henry.
Well, the other good news, Honk, is my daughter is leading the tipping comp at her school. I am texting her the betting odds every week.
You're sending betting odds to a 16-year-old.
Strictly speaking, she texts me every Monday. I get a text saying, what's the line? As well as the winners, they have to pick the margin in the first game of the round.
You're a total degenerate.
I also started a bet with mates group with our son so we could bet together on the golf.
You're getting your son into gambling as well.
He got himself in, Honky, because he's been watching me punt on horses the last 5 years. But he told me he'd won money at poker, so he put it into a sports bet account. So I figured if he's going to bet, let's bet together.
What could possibly go wrong? Just out of interest, when are you planning to lose the house?
I did give him the dad speech about staying in control, gamble responsibly, etc. But I'm actually excited. I think it's a great way for kids to learn about odds, probabilities, risk return, not to mention the value of a dollar when you lose a couple.
Henry, it's fucking gambling.
In my defence, betting on sport, Honky, is wagering, not gambling. Gambling is a game of chance with a negative expected value, dice, roulette, lotto, poker machines. You can't win systematically because luck is the only factor and the house takes a margin. Wagering is a game of skill where knowledge and judgment can give you an advantage.
Anyway, honey, that's why we're homeless now.
Well, yes, wagering still has a negative expected value because you're backing your judgment against every other punter and the house takes a rake. But it is possible to make money, and people do, Honky. We're actually in a horse race betting syndicate, my wife and I, that is doing really well.
The fucking degeneracy never ends.
It's up 60% in 8 months.
When you're living in your car, do not park outside my house, all right?
It's also tax-free.
Are we done with the fucking Gamblers Anonymous meeting so we can finish sport? Wait. What about our beloved, woeful, shit-ass rugby league team, the West Tigers?
Well, Honk, same as last week. We got blown away in 15 minutes. We're 18-0 down before we even had the ball. We lost 46-18. We're now 10th on the ladder.
So we've gone from first or second on the ladder to 10th in, 3 weeks?
And the worst news also out this week is we're playing round 1 in Las Vegas next year.
Well, that's better news, isn't it? The NRL plays the first round in Vegas every year, but I think this is the first time the Tigers have been invited.
It is, but we're playing the Melbourne Storm, Honk, to whom we have lost 9 in a row. They flogged us 2 weeks ago. We covered it on the show. We lost by plenty.
No interest in going then?
Why would I watch us get flogged in Vegas when I can't even bring myself to watch us get flogged down here?
Oh, I'll cancel the plane tickets then. I mean, you try and do something nice.
Now, Honk, I did have a couple of other things on the golf and the cricket, but we might have to hold them over until next week in the interest of time.
Quite okay, Henry, because even in a week of government stealing public money for themselves like Trump, or realising the public might make money, so they're stealing it first, like here in Australia, there is good news.
And what's that, Honky?
None of that is as horrendous as these cunts of the week. Music, please.
I'm a cunt.
Okay, Henry, a lot of international cunts this week, so good on this Aussie bloke for being the worldwide dumb cunt of the week. Take a listen and a look at this.
Lost in remote, rugged terrain, with no food and just the thongs on his feet, Australian hiker Matthew survived for days in the Taiwanese mountains. Matthew fled into the wilderness after an argument with his wife, becoming stranded deep in the mountains on the country's east coast.
Again, calling. Hello!
And used his saxophone to sound the alarm. Reunited with his wife, he's promised never to take off into the mountains again.
Oh, that's village, literally. But what the fuck is with the saxophone on a hike? Is that what the argument with the wife was about? I'm with her on this one.
Yeah. Matthew, I'm not blowing that thing anymore. Surely that was the argument. By the way, do you reckon that was the first time Taiwan's ever thought, you know what, maybe China can have the joint?
They're going to have Taiwan and Matthew.
Now, Henry, I said the Trump administration did not make this week's list of cunts, but I forgot, with apologies, that friend of the show, Kash Patel, is inexplicably still Trump's FBI director.
Inexplicably was ever Trump's FBI director.
And he has once again confirmed his remarkable cuntistry, because it came out this week that last year Kash Patel used his status to go snorkeling off Hawaii at the site of the USS Arizona. That's totally banned to snorkelers and swimmers because the USS Arizona was sunk by the Japanese during Pearl Harbor in 1941, is the ocean gravesite of about 1,000 American servicemen whose bodies were never recovered. Their own fucking families can't go down there. Kash Patel went scuba diving in a US war graveyard among a torpedoed ship and human remains.
What a fuckwit. I don't know if you saw this. There were 5 cave divers and a rescue who all died in Mauritius this week. Maybe Kash could learn something. Maybe you could get eaten by a shark.
Get a stitch. Something. Had something happen to you. Now, last week we also talked about the far-right Reform UK party in England, which stormed, we said, recent UK council elections, winning the most votes and almost 1,500 council seats. Now, Reform UK is led, as we said, by the great Nigel Farage. Here he is briefly a couple of years back, live on TV with a tiny little girl.
My mummy says you hate foreigners.
No, little girl. No.
Quite right.
You're not supposed to say that.
And here he is in one of many congratulations videos that it came out he was doing for money.
Happy birthday, Hugh Janus. I've heard you're a massive fan of Shez Wheatley and her battle against Cal the Dragon.
Honk, the 12th man would be delighted. That's the old, the fingers up, the umpire's huge ass. Tony Gregg.
Henry, it is only fair to say, though, that the embattled UK PM Keir Starmer is no world beater either. Who could forget his powerful condemnation of Hamas's attack on Israel of October the 7th, 2023?
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
The return of the sausages. The hostages.
He said sausages, right?
But reform has clearly
Release
captured
the sausages.
But reform has clearly captured the UK mood. The far-right anti-immigration Unite the Kingdom march in London this past week drew about 60,000 people. Now, these guys especially hate Muslims, and they are obsessed with two things: the right of everyone to free speech and blaming Muslim gangs for all sexual assault in the UK, which explains why these complete cunts handled the following moment at the rally so well.
I am a victim of grooming. I was groomed when I was 11 years old, and I am disgusted with all of you here. I'm disgusted with all of you because it was not an immigrant. It was multiple.
But Henry, even more impressive was Unite the Kingdom's musical talent at the rally. I give you, sir, whatever the fuck this is.
Let me hear you. Just the men. And the women. Now everyone together. 1, 2, 3. If I only had a lighter, honk, I could set my ears on fire. Now, racist cunts were also out in force in the US this week, Honky.
Yes.
There was the shooting by 2 teen white nationalist shitheads at the Islamic Center in San Diego a few days ago. And it could have been much worse, actually, had the 3 brave Muslim guys who were murdered not stopped the shooters going inside where there were loads of children at the Muslim school.
Yeah, absolutely appalling. Plus, there was also this wild bit of countriness in Texas where the frontrunner for the Democratic primary for a congressional seat in San Antonio, Texas, a woman named Maureen Galindo, has, not making this up, has promised, if elected, to turn the local ICE facility into, quote, a prison for American Zionists. Viewers can see the post on screen.
Sounds a lot like a concentration camp, doesn't it?
The Texas Democratic Senate candidate, the very popular James Tallarico, who I think we've talked about, he's really good, he has refused to campaign with Galindo. She has since clarified that she doesn't want to imprison all American Zionists, just, quote, only billionaire Zionists.
Right, no doubt the ones controlling the world's banks, etc. Not an anti-Semitic trope at all there, Honky.
Yeah, banks, the movie industry, and your local accounting firm. End of financial year is coming soon, so call us at Tevye and Finkelstein today. Use code Global Conspiracy to get 20% off. Henry, maybe the cuntiest bit of all this is really weird, is how this woman, Maureen Galindo, is leading in that Democratic primary race for that seat in San Antonio. She's funded by a new PAC, that is a political action committee called Lead Left, which it turns out is connected with another PAC called Win Red. Henry, her race is being backed by Republicans who are hoping she wins the Democratic primary so she gets smashed in the congressional election in what is meant to be a super safe Democratic seat.
What? The sheer country on all sides. The Republicans backing the Democrat, so the Democrat loses because it's a dud candidate. That is crazy. By the way, Honk, that Citizens United has got to be close to the worst US Supreme Court decision of all time, the one that let corporations donate unlimited amounts to election campaigns.
Totally. And yet, Henry, like last week, and yet, none of these crooks, fuckwits or morons is even close to being our cunt of the week. Because in a last-minute Stephen Bradbury-style gold medal winning display of total cuntiosity, congratulations, Danny James Ridley. Arrested in Sydney this week for theft, specifically of the camera of photographer Peter Marr, who was murdered at the Bondi Beach terrorist attack back in December that also killed 14 others, including 13 Jews, who were, of course, the target. This guy, Danny Ridley, was at the shooting at Bondi Beach. He saw Peter Marr lying dead, stole his camera gear and pawned it, including the last photos of the Bondi event that Peter Marr took. Danny Ridley. Can you believe it? Danny Ridley.
Just literally knocked my microphone over.
Danny Ridley.
That is disgraceful.
Danny Ridley, cunt of the week, right into our all-time top 10 biggest ever cunts, and worthy recipient of the debut this week of a new musical moment for our show.
Go fuck yourself. I wanna say, go fuck yourself.
Oh God, Honky, I need to shower in bleach or acid or something. Folks, that's surely all we've got time for. Thanks as always for joining us. You can watch us on YouTube if you're not already. Drop us a like or comment there, as a couple of people have. John Watkin and Julian, who said he was in the village of Cocking in the Cotswolds. Not too far from the Cocking. The YouTube link's in our show notes. If you can't find it yourself, you can find us on all the audio platforms, of course, and now with video on Apple or Spotify podcasts. You've got a choice of watching us, or if you're too worried, you'll try and pawn your own device. If you see Danny Ridley, just listen to us on audio. Our social accounts, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, lots of short clips on there, and you can share them with your friends and your WhatsApp groups and your own social media accounts. It really helps us grow the show.
Yes, do think about rating us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you can. It really helps too. Also, check out our show notes. Like the great Dr. Grace this week, you can send us a text or an email from those show notes. We'll read it on the show.
And if you've seen a better gig lately than Paul Simon or W.G. Grace at Lord's in 1890, send us a review. Why not?
And read our show notes for extra jokes so bad that even Texas primary frontrunner Maureen Galindo would be like, too much. There's a line, guys.
We're back next week at the usual time of ASAP on Saturday, Australian Eastern Standard Time.
But before we go, a little bit more video/audio of crookery, fuckwitticism, and moronification Aussie-ness.
First, further to Donald Trump's latest insider trading and IRS scams, this superb piece from Instagram where the guys set another of Trump's scams to music, using Trump's original spoken ad for, and this is true, collectible Trump cards.
It's just superb. And then a little more musical majesty from this week's far-right Unite the Kingdom London rally. You'll Never Walk Alone from the musical Carousel is, of course, the theme song of the UK's Liverpool FC soccer club, forever associated also with the Hillsborough disaster of 1989, when almost 100 fans were crushed to death and another 800 were injured. Yet no version of that amazing song can hold a candle to this rendition you're going to hear. This is from the genius who brought you that earlier. Actually, we still have no fucking clue what that is. So enjoy both pieces, and we'll be back next week because, as the great Henry Lee always says...
Did I mention the Australian federal budget really sucks, Honk? Not sure if I did. And also, stupid never sleeps. See you next week.
Hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln, better than Washington. I'm doing my first official Donald J. Trump NFT collection right here and right now. They're called Trump Digital Trading Cards. These cards feature some of the really incredible artwork pertaining to my life and my career. It's been very exciting. Each card comes with an automatic chance to win amazing prizes like dinner with me or golf with you and a group of your friends at one of my beautiful golf courses, and they are beautiful. Go to collecttrumpcards.com right now, and remember, Christmas is coming, and this makes a great Christmas gift.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Lift off, come on!
Walk on, walk on, with hope in your hearts, and you